no intro. Did you hear about the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles remake?
No.
With Will Smith and Kevin Hart.
What? That's
dumb.
I don't like that. It's not
dumb.
Yeah. It's not a I don't know, maybe they can make that fun, but like I'm assuming Hart is going to be the John Candy role because he's going to be the one who's like super annoying.
I was thinking about this.
I
was also thinking about the Fresh Prince reboot that's going to be a drama.
Oh, it's a drama?
Well, it's not going to be an out-and-out comedy. It's going to...
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously it's going to have humor. It's not going to be like totally straight-faced, but they're going to, it's going to have more of a Fresh Prince, the OC Fresh Prince.
Who wants that?
Jeff, no! What you say?
Yeah, no. Get that on my Fresh Prince.
I was thinking about that because they've both goofed in the past, but I think Will has more of a history with the opposite of goof,
being dramatic,
which is non-goofing.
Serious. Yeah.
So
I think you're right.
It's the same thing with Steve Martin. I mean, Steve Martin got some scenes. He got his rental car scene or what have you.
Yeah.
The thing is first of all, we can't criticize this because we're white. But here we go. Let's make new stuff. Let's just make new stuff.
Let's just make new stuff.
I don't like Timothy. Well, I call it Timothy. I call it Tim for short. I don't like Tiffany Haddish, but she deserves better than a What Women Want, a reboot of What Men Want, right? She deserves better than that.
That movie is just a bad idea.
And yeah, this is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but I think that's just even more argument to like not go back to it. And who gets the money? The John Hughes estate?
Yeah, I don't know.
John's not with us.
Why?
He probably left it all to Molly anyway.
Just do some like kind of weird situation comedy where they're these two guys.
But that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then I started to think about it, and I thought, well, is it going to? Because Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. When you think about it, it addresses economic disparity, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's really
true.
about.
Yeah.
It's about a guy who works in advertising or whatever, and my God.
Yeah.
He's working all the time in New York. Will he be able to get back to his Oak Park neighborhood, for Christmas?
Right.
Oh boy, I hope so. And then John Candy was living out of a trunk because his wife died. You know what I mean? Like, but then I thought, oh my God, I think maybe that's the perfect realm in which to explore this. Maybe is to use because Will Smith will definitely play a guy in a suit. And Kevin Hart will not be a guy in a suit.
Yeah.
And so maybe we need to hear that again. Maybe we need to have a story about economic disparity again.
Well, I think it's a lot.
But I'm still not on its side. It's got a lot to prove.
I mean, I feel like I think that's something that we need to talk about more these days because the richer. I mean,
Will Smith is getting richer. You're right.
Well, yes, but
no matter how stupid he looks on the red table thing or whatever. Red table flip or whatever.
But the economy is crap. And
news to me. News to me.
And we're not really doing a whole lot to help people.
You know what movie did that?
What?
And kind of went both sides. Nothing to Lose.
Oh, I don't think I know that one.
Oh, you do.
Do I?
Well, we're going to talk about it next week if you don't. Starring Tim Robbins and Martin Lawrence.
I do not remember this
at
all.
Tim Robbins.
We put them together, and now they're two Vics. They're one person. Okay.
Who's doing very well. It's in L.A. And he finds out that his wife is cheating on him, and he goes a little cuckoo, and he... Okay, let me get through this, okay?
Oh, okay.
He gets kind of carjacked. He gets attempted carjacked by Martin Lawrence.
Oh, boy.
But it's like, you picked the wrong guy on the wrong day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he basically doesn't do anything bad. He just drives to the desert with him. And he's like, why are you taking me to the desert? Where are we going?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, it turns out that Martin Lawrence, this is his first carjacking because he was a security systems expert. He's got his engineering degree. but he can't get a job because he's not the corporate color. And so Tim Robbins is like, well, whatever, you can get a job. What are you talking about? But then, they start to learn that, they don't understand things about each other.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They have some stuff to learn.
All right.
And then along the way, they are plagued by a pair of, like, career criminals, real highwaymen, played by the toothy guy from Scrubs, and another guy who I don't think anybody knows, but he's funny. Okay. And they are black and white as well.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's like a dark mirror of the other mirror. And I'm not saying it's good, but...
Oh, okay.
Maybe along those lines.
Sure. I think there's a lot... Like, I guess I'm trying to think... Has transportation really changed a whole lot?
You're not talking about the economy and racial issues, and you're like, would they take a train, though? Shouldn't it be?
I'm here to bring us back to the minutia.
Airbus,
and the really
Airbus's
tiny
lifts and Ubers,
minute details that don't really matter so much. Sorry, I don't know why I was thinking about that.
Shouldn't it be Teslas, Ubers, and yeah.
I mean, will like mobile phones? Will that like totally change the movie?
No, they won't be able to.
Like, what if their phone? Like, what if they get somewhere and they don't have service, or their phone breaks, or they run out of battery?
Well,
or something like that?
Well, hopefully. Well, I don't know if this is true. I'm not a regular traveler, but hopefully, we've improved communication technology and technology in general for the rental car system, so that you won't be taken out to Lot D by the shuttle and the car's not there. Although you and I have traveled to conventions,
yes,
and we've had some experiences with rental companies that made me think that technology hasn't advanced at all. And you can't, I suppose nowadays, if you try to rent a room with your melted Diners Club card, you can probably just PayPal or Bitcoin or something like that, right?
Probably.
But Act 1, cell phones go out the window, right? Literally.
Right. How could you do it
no
otherwise?
Cell phone.
Yeah.
Or you got to get a burner, but you can't remember your logins because that's what Google passwords is for. So
sure,
yeah.
Right. Yeah, I could see that.
No, you can do this.
Okay,
you can totally do it.
Okay.
All right. Well, now I'm in the position where I think I'll go check it out when it comes out.
Okay. I guess I'll keep an open mind.
If they can ever shoot it. But shooting crews are going back to work because it must continue.
Yes, the drudge must continue.
What do you like? Wear a mask. Cut. All right, masks on, everybody.
Does everybody behind the scenes wear a mask? Does the director wear a mask?
Probably. There's no way you can have less than 6 people on a movie set. It's impossible.
Do you mic the director then?
Do you mic the director?
Like give the director...
No, he uses a megaphone, but it's muffled, so it's loud, but it's... Okay.
Well, that's why I'm saying a mic, because it's right there.
Yes.
Underneath the...
Yes, you use a mic. What's your movie? You lost the toss. What's your movie?
I lost the toss? Excuse me.
Oh, sorry, you won the toss.
Excuse me, I thought I won the toss.
All right, whatever you need to sleep at night.
My movie is Blood Simple. It is the very first film by the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
Had not seen it before. I don't think I've necessarily seen all of the Coen brothers films, but I've seen the vast majority of them, and was like, haven't seen that one. That sounds kind of interesting. I want to check that out. So that's why it went on my list.
I think it's interesting, funny maybe, I don't know, telling that they do crime movies. I mean, if you look at the numbers, probably more than half of their movies are quote-unquote crime movies. But they left the noir sort of pitch really early. Mm-hmm. Clearly they made a noir because they were noir fans.
Oh, yeah.
Growing up in St. Louis Park or wherever they were from.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they go, let's make a movie. All right, we'll just make our kind of noir. But then immediately they were on to other things.
Yeah.
You're Raising Arizonas, if you will.
Right.
Which is a crime movie, technically, but it is a crime movie. You can't really call it a noir.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to say what happens? I'll say what happens.
Yes. That is your job.
I'm not good with names. I think I can do the names on this.
Okay,
What's the girl's name?
And Abby.
She is a girl.
Yes.
I mean, she's a woman, but she's a girl, young woman. Abby is married to Marty. Marty owns a honky-tonk in Texas.
Yeah.
They're not happily married.
Mm-hmm.
And Abby starts an affair with Ray, a bartender that works for Marty.
Yes.
We got to go quick. Marty knows about this, and he hires M. Emmett Walsh's character.
Who's... I don't think they ever say his name.
Fair enough. If they
Private Detective Lauren Visser.
Visser. Hires Visser to spy on them.
Mm-hmm.
He does spy on them. Then later he asks him to kill them.
Yep.
And that's it. I mean, I'm not going to go any farther. If you haven't seen this movie, and unless you're a Coen fan, you probably haven't, you ought to see this movie.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I liked it. I mean, I think it's a good noir. I guess I kind of want to know. So, the very, very beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ray and Abby are in the car together, and he confesses how he feels about her in the car.
I like you.
I like you. I've always liked you.
I've always liked you.
And but
Texas,
he's like,
that's like, let's marry right now.
Right, but he's like, I'm not a marriage counselor. Like, I don't want to hear about your...
Yeah.
Like, he says that multiple times, and actually that phrase, marriage counselor, what are you, a marriage counselor? That comes up quite a bit. It's kind of funny. But, so that's happening just then. And it sure seems like they just sleep with each other that night, but apparently... multiple times, but like he already had like Visser like following them.
Well, what I don't get is they're driving, right?
Yeah.
And they're having a conversation, and there are a lot of little things. I'm not saying that the Coens are not prone to doing interesting things camera-wise or not having a flair for storytelling, but they're really putting it on here. Mm-hmm. As they're driving, they're having this conversation. We're seeing it from the back seat. It's dark.
Yeah, the backs of their heads.
It's
and
raining.
Dark. Yeah,
and because it's a noir, but I mean it's Texas, so this is just one of those freak rainstorms, I guess, in Texas, which is famous for its rainfall. And as they talk, this all had to be timed out. I don't think they're really in a car. I think they're on a set.
Oh, probably.
As they talk, they reach kind of a lacuna or a pause in their dialogue, and the headlights, start before that point and then come up and sort of white the screen out, and then the next name of the person.
Oh, I didn't notice
who's in the movie. The credits come up, and then they'll be talking some more, and we'll see lights, and they'll go to a point, and then the lights go by, and then the next name comes up, and it's like that took a lot to set up, just in terms of like writing the script and being able to break it down,
wow.
and the dialogue comes at like these regular intervals, as do the lights. But at the end of that sequence, they slam on the brakes because there's a car by the side of the road. The car is the yellow bug that belongs to Visser. So did they lap their tail or something like that? He's already supposed to be following them, but he was in front of them for some reason.
Was he in front of them?
They stopped the car because they're like, oh, don't hit that car. And they just sort of pull around, and that car was Visser's bug.
Oh, I thought he was... I must be remembering it wrong.
Maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
Because I thought he was following them, and then she said, pull over, and they wait, and then he goes around them after a pause. Like, they both kind of stop, and then he pauses, and then he goes around, and then Ray asks her if he knows who that is.
But they stopped... Yeah, okay. I don't know.
Anyway... Okay.
It's the kind of interaction that a tail and the person tailing them should not have. The person you're tailing.
Yes, right. You shouldn't know. How good of a private investigator is he? We know he's a good photographer because of something that happens later.
There's a lot of camera moves in this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of follows. Dolly or otherwise, we'll sort of follow the dog, follow the guy with the white Converse. There's a great shot along the bar where we're like, Maurice is talking to this woman that he's been talking to the entire movie. Is he going to close a deal or what?
Yeah.
And the camera's moving along the bar, and there's a guy passed down in the bar, so the camera comes up to the guy and then whoop goes over the guy, and then whoop, comes back down when it gets over him again.
That was great.
Which is almost like them breaking the fourth wall artistically. It's almost like them, doing these cool moves, but then also being like, this is Brechtian. You know what I mean? You're still watching the movie. We're in a movie space here. Yeah. That's what it just made me think of.
Yeah. No, I totally get that.
It's going to be hard to talk about this. I guess I didn't spoil it up to this point, but, skip to 30 minutes in or whatever if you don't want any more spoilers, because we have to talk about the film.
Yeah.
It's a real low stakes, and I like that. I like when a crime movie is super low stakes. Mm-hmm. Like, Emmett Walsh needs more rolling papers or something. He's going to kill 2 people for $10,000?
Yeah, that's what I don't understand.
That ain't a lot of money.
I'm like... Because then I even asked you, like...
What's $10,000 in 1984 bucks? Not a lot of money.
Yeah, great. So I was like, 2 people for that amount of money. That just doesn't even... That makes, like, no sense to me.
He's like, you go fishing for a while. I'll let you know when it's done.
Yeah.
And then, like, all this stuff goes down, and then he calls him, and he's like, did you catch any fish?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Did you catch any fish when you're up there? No, I mean, is it done?
Yeah. And
he's a more serious character, because there's a character like this in like all of the Coen Brothers movies. There's like a wild card character.
Yeah.
But he's like...
you don't really know from the beginning. You don't know what to expect from this guy, I feel like.
No, you don't expect him to... Okay, so a double slaying is bad.
Yeah.
But I guess if somebody is going to hire you to kill 2 people and nobody else knows about it, and you just kill him and take the money, then that's only killing 1 person?
Yeah. I was trying to figure out, like, what exactly his...
I'm not sure it's all there in dialogue, but I was just assuming that there was a history, a past between these 2 guys.
And
so, he could... Because he doctors the photos to make it look like he killed them.
Yes.
And I guess, which... pre-Photoshop, so I guess it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, he could take the 10,000 and then just flee town forever. Because who's Marty going to tell?
Yeah.
But also then he kills him. So
he kills him, and then, like, he doesn't, like, immediately try to get into the safe. He actually, like... This is what I think is weird.
And once he does come back for the safe, he's not even looking for the money. He's looking for the last picture, which was his insurance policy.
Right. And probably also his lighter, which is underneath the fish, and I don't think anybody ever finds.
Just look under the fish.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not saying this movie's perfect, but I'm saying that it presents interesting characters who are, and this happens sometimes too, like the Coens can have overdrawn characters in the case of A Raising Arizona, and underdrawn characters in the case of a No Country for Old Men, for example.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's interesting either way.
Yeah.
And you feel like there isn't much to get about an Abby or a Ray. You feel like you get them right away.
You pretty much do.
But then the things that they do and the decisions they make have you going, in that great crime thriller tradition, are like, why are you doing this? Why?
It was...
Everybody knows that you and Marty had a problem.
Right.
If you just called the cops.
Right.
And then you...
Yes.
Immediately go, I'm going to clean up the crime scene. Later on, we learn he thinks that he's protecting Abby, who's doing this.
Yes, which is like, okay, then it kind of makes sense.
A little more. But you're doing it in the dumbest way. And then you take him out to bury him, I guess, but he's still alive.
Yep.
He's the only person who knows
who killed him.
You didn't do it.
Yeah.
I guess you still think it's Abby, but at that point, you could just go to a hospital. You could do anything, but instead, just hit him over the head with a shovel, I guess, and throw him in the ground.
Yeah.
And then he's got the gun, which, as far as Ray's concerned, just it's like, I'm doing the right thing. It must have been Abby. And then you think, oh, this is a big turning point. He's going to shoot him, but the gun doesn't work, or it's just falling on the empty chambers.
No. It's because of the empty chambers, because it had already been when...
well, there was only 3 bullets in it.
There was only 3 bullets, and Visser shot Marty, and when Ray showed up, he kicked the gun, and it shot
and it
one.
Went off.
So there was only 1 bullet left.
Which, everything that gun went through, it's a good thing that the cylinder didn't move again, because Abby would have just died in her apartment. But yeah, and so instead of, after all this, it's like another shovel of dirt. We're pot committed.
It was really frustrating to watch because it's like, why are you doing this? And you just want to scream at this guy like, you freaking idiot. And like, I think you had to tell me like a couple of times while we were watching. I was like, well, why is he doing it like this? Because he like he freaks out. He thinks he's dead. He freaks out and like it shows he's like moving and like actually freaks him out, and Marty gets out of the car even though he's like really horribly wounded and starts crawling, and then you think that Ray is going to run him over with a car or hit him in the head with a shovel, and the only reason that he doesn't is because there's another car coming.
Right.
And then he's like going to go bury him, and where does he go? He goes to a field in a farm that has been plowed.
Yeah, well, it's been tilled, yeah.
It's been tilled. Noticeably tilled. And he drives into the field.
Yeah, I wonder why there's this big flat thing that's 6 feet long and there's tire tracks going up to it.
Right, yeah. Exactly. And you dig a spot and it's going to be obviously disturbed ground. They're going to know something is there. It's not smart.
They didn't teach him to hide a body in the service, I guess.
I know, but it's just like he is... Wow. And then like...
Well, it's tragic because he's doing it all for her, and he's just not thinking it through, and his only reward is going to be a bullet.
I know, and like it's weird because you find out when he talks to her that he did it because she thought that she shot Marty. But like he never really tells her exactly what happened. Everybody
ends up stumbling onto everybody else's plan in this, and everyone...
Which I think is really interesting.
Everyone enacts their own plan without knowing what's happening, without having any context. Mm-hmm. So even at the end when Visser is in the apartment and he is looking for her, and she does the whole thing where she, stabs his hand on the windowsill or whatever, and then goes back and gets the gun, she thinks it's Marty the whole time. Yep. Now, I would argue that M. Emmett Walsh might have some hair on his hands, but he's no Dan Hedaya. You would know Dan Hedaya's hand.
Right.
Why is this gorilla trying to get into this apartment? Get out of here. But even at the end, she thinks that she's shooting Marty.
Yes.
And as Visser's dying, he's like, okay, I'll tell him if I see him.
I know. Such a great line.
Yeah. It's a lot of character.
Well, and I just kind of wonder... Not important, and I can appreciate where the story ends. So it's not important, but I wonder what her next move is going to be. She's got 2 dead bodies in her apartment.
She doesn't know anything about anything.
I know.
And she's
Call the cops, right?
And her gun, I guess, might be able to be matched to what killed Marty, but Ray did such a pish poor job of cleaning it up. Mm-hmm. I think she'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder what Maurice found out, because she went to him and was like, I think Marty's dead. And he was like, you stay here and of course she didn't stay there. But, he was like going to go look for him. But, that's not really important, I guess.
I like when Maurice is like, you got to get your shit together, man.
I know.
What's going on with you and Ray? Give me that. These cigarettes are just coughing nails. And then as he walks away, he's like, you got to get it together. And he puts a cigarette in his mouth.
I know.
Also, he lives on a dead-end street. Did you get that?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of a metaphorical dead end.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about it. But yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his life right now. The choices that he made. But yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's unconventional, and I think it goes. I think a good noir isn't necessarily predictable, right? But sometimes there are some elements that you can predict, and I feel like this was like. I feel like they took a lot of the tropes and the things that you might be familiar with within noir, and they kind of, changed or flipped your expectations or twisted them in some way. I can really appreciate that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like just, oh, I'm a detective, and here's the dame, and she's trouble, and you know what I mean.
Everybody, come to the drawing room.
Right.
I got something to tell you.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I think they know all the tropes and they're okay using
Yes.
some of them, but they also want to sort of dangle some of them in front of you, and so you're off balance, or just to comment on them. Like I like when he goes through all this trouble to bury him, and he gets back in his car, and the theme is the do 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 sort of is playing, and he starts the car and it won't start, and everything stops. The music stops, everything stops, and then it finally turns over. And the soundtrack comes back, and then he just tries, like you were thinking, oh, this is a new... No, oh, no, that's not a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I get a real Miller's Crossing vibe from this. Miller's Crossing, I think, is similar in a lot of ways, and it's just like a higher budget version of this film.
Yeah.
Although there is no real... Abby is just... None of this is really her fault. Like,
no.
And everybody puts... things on her, so like Marty's like, oh, you wait until she says, I don't know what you're talking about, she'll be out there shaking her tail for the menfolk or whatever, and then like Ray is like, oh, she killed this guy, I gotta cover this up, and don't worry, just go back to I'll take care of it, and everybody, and she's just like, she's kind of dumb, but at the same time she's also like the only person who's not involved in some horrible criminal enterprise in this entire film. There is no character like that in Miller's Crossing. Everybody's terrible in Miller's Crossing.
Well, but what I thought you were going to say is, Marty is says that something she's going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. And then Ray goes back and he's talking to her about what he did without really saying what he did because he thinks that she killed Marty.
Right.
And she says the same exact thing that Marty said she was going to say if she'd, ever might have been cheating or what have you. So that kind of makes Ray think, oh, she did it, but she doesn't want to tell me she did it, or she's playing innocent or something like that.
Right.
Like saying that she's deceitful or can't be
trusted. Which doesn't ever really lead him to do anything, but it's their first film, so they can pay some things off, but then they don't lead to new things necessarily.
Well, there is one point. There are a couple of things. So Visser goes to kill them, supposedly, right? And I don't know if maybe it was his plan the entire time to just take a photo of them and do a Photoshop. I don't know. But he breaks into the house and steals her gun.
Yeah.
It seemed like he knew her gun was in her purse.
It did, kind of. Because what was he going to kill Marty with if he didn't
have a gun?
That?
Yeah.
Although Marty does say that she's got a pearl-handled gun, doesn't
I think
he?
He does.
Yeah.
I think he does. But then later, they don't say this, but it's obvious because Ray still has his house, and they say, she said she'd get out of his hair, so I guess she's found an apartment.
Yeah.
Like a big loft. Okay, whatever. But Visser goes to Ray's house, is sitting at the table, and one of her purses is still there for some reason, and he goes through her purse and somehow has the number to call her apartment, because he calls and doesn't answer and hangs up like Marty did earlier in the movie, and she thinks it's Marty.
Right. Great point.
Well, I just don't know how any of that happened. Yes, I would.
I would too. I think even if the Coens had never become the Coen brothers, this would be remembered as there's this little scrappy movie, from 1984 that you might not have seen. It's called Blood Simple. But
yes.
Everything worked out. Let's talk about my movie.
Yes.
I picked the year 2000's The Contender.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I wanted to see how it measured up. We are in one of the most important political moments of all time, and the last time this happened was 20 years ago. And I wanted to see how this weird little movie from the year 2000 that was made in Clinton La La Land holds up to today. And the answer might surprise you. What's the movie about?
The movie is about the vice president has passed away 3 weeks previous, and the president is trying to pick a good person to be his a good pick to be his VP and get sworn in, hopefully
for the last 2 years
smoothly.
of his second term.
Yes.
That's important.
Yes. And he it seemed like he was going to go with like maybe one guy at Grissom at the very beginning, but then it's just decided it's just not going to work out. So he's going to go with.
It's a little more complicated than that, but I won't stop you.
It is more complicated than that.
Quicker. Less detail.
He's going to go with Senator Hansen, who's played by Joan Allen, and Runyon is the commissioner on the committee.
He's a Republican.
He's a Republican.
Representative.
He's friends with Grissom, and he has decided he does not like Joan Allen. She's a Democrat. And she's a woman. I don't really know what else he has specifically against her, but he feels like she's a wrong pick, so he's gonna dig up whatever dirt he can on her and make this as horrible of an experience as he can, so she is not chosen. That's and a lot of this is happening because she is.
You ain't done.
A woman.
You ain't near done.
Christian Slater is in it too, and he.
It turns out to be what he digs up is that when she was in a sorority, when she was in college, she was part of a gangbang, supposedly. And so, without being, this is how things have changed. It wouldn't matter now, but without being overly indecorous, he wants to make sure that the world knows about this. So her image is tarnished, and she withdraws her name from consideration for confirmation. Because he's the head of the, like you said, of the confirmation committee.
And Christian Slater doesn't like her either.
Not really important to the plot.
Oh, okay. All right.
It is a part of the movie.
I guess we're done. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
It's about a woman having the possibility of being president. Now, remember, this is the year 2000. It was written in the 90s, probably shot in 99. This is pre-9/11.
Yes.
And Hillary Clinton is still running for senator at this point. She won't be elected until November of the year 2000. So she is not, as far as political power goes, she doesn't have any. She's the first lady, but you're not going to. Barbara Bush isn't going to, bring the house down or whatever.
Right.
She doesn't have any political power.
Right.
So, yes, it is a question of the double standard that applies to women.
To women in politics.
Applies to men. Yeah.
Yes.
And Grissom is, who we should say is the governor of Virginia.
Yes. Democratic governor of Virginia. Yeah.
Is kind of the front runner, and that status goes up when he is on a fishing trip. And somebody crashes their car like off a bridge, like near where he's fishing. So he dives in and tries to save the person, but they die. And it's looked at as a heroic act. But
she died.
We meet Jeff Bridges, who is basically like if Clinton was like good looking. Do you know what I mean? And I love how remember Clinton exists in this universe because one of the questions the committee asks her is about her vote to impeach President Clinton.
Yes.
So this exists in some future where I guess Jeff Bridges was like Al Gore, but a cool, good-looking Al Gore.
Right.
And so, so Jeff Bridges is an impossibly cool, sexy president, but don't worry about it.
Laid back and super level-headed and
Yeah, and his one bit is that, the thing from Dave where you can order a hoagie sandwich in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
He loves that. If I told you that, it's a great payoff for it. If I told you that Aaron Sorkin wrote this, would you believe me? It doesn't work on you because you never watched The West Wing. You never really cared about Aaron Sorkin at all.
This doesn't really seem like Aaron Sorkin.
How does it not seem like Aaron Sorkin? I guess there's a freaking supermodel Democratic president who's just moderate enough to make everybody smile.
Yeah, I guess.
And everybody, I don't know how much walking and talking there is, but everybody has a cool line for everything. It's not written by, this is the most Sorkin piece of media that was never written by Aaron Sorkin. It was written by a guy named Rod Lurie, who has an interesting background. He was basically made to write this movie. Now, he's written a couple movies and he's directed a couple movies.
Okay.
He also, and I think this makes sense, was the creator of the TV show Commander-in-Chief. Where,
Téa Leoni?
No, that is Madam Secretary.
What is that called? That's Madam Secretary.
Yes.
What's Commander-in-Chief?
Geena Davis is the president.
Geena Davis.
Yes.
Got it.
But he is, he was
Why
born...
are we okay with this in media, but we're not okay with it in real life?
We're going to talk about the Contender right now if you want to bring that up. He was born in Israel, moved at a very early age to Connecticut. He graduated from West Point. Okay. He was in the Army for a while, but then but then he left the Army and became an entertainment reporter. You know, like you do.
Okay. I wouldn't have made that automatic jump, but all right.
Then he became an investigative reporter in the entertainment industry. And he uncovered unethical and illegal practices, hopefully some involving women, I guess, but the Me Too was not to happen back then.
No.
Because there were no hashtags.
Yeah.
He wrote a book called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is about like movie making and underhanded practices. And then he got into filmmaking, and he was a writer and director of a movie in 1999. I think it was a TV movie or maybe like a small release film. And then, boom, The Contender.
Huh.
So he has investigative journalism.
Yes.
He has the military or the government. Mm-hmm. He's got all the things that would go into this.
Yeah, right. Experience with it.
Yeah. I just don't like this is a very feminist movie, and I don't know where his feminist angle is, but whatever. He made the movie.
Yeah.
Did you so I don't even know how to start or where to go, but let's just talk about how do you, thinking of the political climate insofar as you were aware of it in the year 2000 and the political climate now, how weird, 1 to 10, is this movie?
How weird is
The West Wing is a piece of fiction that was created near the tail end of the Clinton presidency.
Yep.
That is a completely false, fictional world where people in government, even the Republicans, all care about what the Founding Fathers actually thought and all quote Robespierre to each other. And it doesn't exist, and it never existed. And it's the wet dream of centrists, of Democratic centrists who want a cool president whose one arm is 3 inches shorter than the other one, but he holds his body in a way that you can't tell. That's what they want. And that's what I see here. But I also see incredibly skeevying parallels to the situation we're in now.
I do too.
Senator Hansen is a short-haired woman who used to be a Republican and is now a Democrat and wants to be president. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. The faster you say them, the faster we can move on.
Who are you?
Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, okay.
Got me?
Right. Yep.
And she's from Ohio. Ohio would never have liked her, but whatever. She's from Ohio just for fun. Mm-hmm. We have the opposition. He might be a senator. I thought he was a representative, though. I thought he was like the representative majority, the majority leader. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Shelley Levine. might as well be Shelley Levine.
Runyon.
But it's Runyon.
Like Funyun.
He is a Jewish...
Runyon.
Yeah. He is a Jewish representative from Illinois. Again, that would never happen, but whatever. Who is somehow a Republican, even though he wears like tweed suits and like knit ties.
I know.
Who is against her. He is a Bernie Sanders figure. What do we got? He fought against civil rights and hate crimes. He sponsored a hate crime bill in the 90s or whatever. Mm-hmm. What is going on here?
I know.
What is this?
I know. It's a little weird.
What's it all about? And then you've got a governor of Virginia who's a murderer. That probably checks out. Are we talking about proxy? Talking about telling people they don't have to wear masks?
Yeah, well...
Anyway, and they tell him that we can't... You're the front runner. We can't take you because of this incident because it's too Chappaquiddick. Mm-hmm. Do you know what Chappaquiddick is?
I don't know what Chappaquiddick is.
They basically explain it in the movie. Ted Kennedy is driving, with a girl who's probably an escort, and they crash their car, and he swims to safety and leaves her behind, and she drowns, and then my dad has never been able to shut up about it for the last, 50 years.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's bad. Why did he leave her to drown?
Because he's craven.
Okay.
Because he's craven, and she was probably a prostitute, and they were both high. That's why.
Okay. Wow.
I feel like history and half the country has tried him for his entire life on that, but whatever. That's what we're trying to set up, right?
Yeah.
So we go through this movie, and throughout it, we see the ways that everyone immediately assumes when this rumor, this story comes out, that it's true.
Yes.
And even the people that are on her side, there's a specific language in that they're like, I don't care who he had sex with or a football team. It doesn't matter. Let's just face this. You know?
Yeah.
And just the assumption that obviously it's true. Never the question of why is this an issue? Never a question of where's your information from? Never a question of what does this have to do with your viability as a candidate?
Right. I think what I hate it, but I think
the movie has some very interesting and deft turns and reveals.
They do. It does.
Not like in a "you're the killer" kind of way, but in a subverting your expectations. Huh, Ryan Johnson?
Yes.
Like it even sets her up. The movie tricks us because it sets her up. We are introduced to her while she's trying to have sex with her husband, who's her campaign manager.
Yes.
Before they get the call from the president, you know, and they're like, "Oh," and so you're already introduced to this woman, focusing totally on her sexuality, on her gender, and all this stuff, and then the movie continues to draw you into this thing where it's like, well, okay, she did something kind of dumb when she was 19 or whatever, but who really cares? You know, we immediately assume something about her. Now, woman, talk. I've talked for 10 minutes about this movie. I just want women to be respected.
Yeah, I
know.
So
start talking, bitch.
Well, I think maybe one reason why they don't even ask her if it's true or if it really happened, or maybe they kind of do, but she just said, I don't want to talk about it because it's my personal life and it has nothing to do with the validity of my candidacy, which I completely respect.
That's not in denial.
Completely, no. But I think it's because there is a photograph. You can't see her face in a photograph, but I think it's because there is, quote unquote, photographic evidence. You know, so they don't really question the validity of what is being said.
You think that's it? You don't think it's institutional sexism?
Well, I do think it's that.
I set you up for that, but you want to go with the photograph.
No, I think it's both. I think it's both, for sure.
Don't believe these internet journalists.
Well, here's the thing, and she even says this in the film, like, if she was a man, it wouldn't be a big deal.
No.
At all. They would, like, slap her on the back, you know, and be like, good job, you know, and it's infuriating, and it's really, really upsetting to think that, like, the double standard of, men having sex, they get applauded, but women are, called whores, and they're, what did he call it? Like, Runyon called it, like, sexual deviance or something like that, and it's like, holy cow, you know? And it's like, and then he was trying to add onto it that, like, she got money for sex too, like that she was trying to spin it like it was like prostitution or something like that, so then it would be like an actual crime.
FBI investigating. It's like, okay, well, I don't know how old she is, but I think the statute of limitations runs out on prostitution or solicitation of prostitution after a certain point, but you look into it, FBI. You check it out. Yes. It's... First of all, just to preface this whole thing halfway through, remember when shit didn't mean anything? Remember when we could worry about shit like this?
I know.
Don't you love it?
You can tell, too, because of the other things that come up during... Not to say that a lot of the other things are fine... I'm just saying, like, in her speech, she mentions, like, selling cigarettes to minors. And it's like,
oh yeah, when she's like, these are the things I believe.
Yeah,
yeah. I think that we should have a bigger military.
And I was like, oh my god.
And it's to stomp out,
genocide,
stop genocides. It's like, well, you're going to get your wish in about 9 months here, but it's not going to be the way you want it. Or what you want it for, but you'll vote for it, won't you, Hillary? I mean, I mean, Senator Hansen. Yeah. It's before we learned... see, this is the thing. What did I say the other day? It was like, it's real equality that we're watching really shitty films made by female directors now, aren't we?
Yeah.
And it's like, real equality is learning, oh, this female politician is as full of shit as all the rest of them.
Right.
I'm glad we made it for our daughters.
I know.
But we're in a situation where this is important somehow. And because Shelley is a Republican, it's the tail end of this moral majority thing, which the Republicans would then spend the first 20 years of the 21st century completely destroying and eroding any base or platform that they have about being somehow morally superior to their opponents.
Right.
And that has completely just culminated in the year 2020. That's worthless. But this was the last, real blast that they had of that going on. And just the idea of like, as soon as the president, we've asked her, she's appeared at the press conference, she's going to go for this. They tell her husband to get lost, because a husband seen behind a wife seen behind a husband is supportive. But a husband be seen behind a wife, and they say seems like a puppet master, but I don't. Maybe I think that's a misreading, or at least it is today. He just seems like cucky and submissive.
That's what I was reading that as.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
But that's not what I think they meant. What they meant. The chief of staff, Kermit, played wonderfully by Sam Elliott, who, even when he doesn't have a mustache, he acts like he's got one. His lip moves in weird ways, like it's weighed down by a mustache.
I wanted to ask you, does he charge extra if they ask him to shave his mustache?
It's got another $50,000.
It's a mustache fee.
Yeah. So it's there's a lot of just weird parallels to this. This is an alternate universe that two planes hitting two towers steered us away from forever. We could have been arguing about dumb bullshit like this forever. You've got the character of Christian Slater, who...
Yes.
Why is he in this at all if this is really about the power and dignity of women? I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because at least we've got a side guy. In any other movie, he would have been the hero of the movie, the young freshman representative.
Right. Yes.
But instead, he's relegated to a side role. He's a toady who then later is convinced by, the nobility and integrity of the senator to come to the right side. But in this political climate, in this day and age, that guy's dead to me. We can never trust him again.
No, because
do you know what I mean?
You can't trust him. Talk about loyalty.
He joins a bipartisan confirmation committee
Yeah.
who we see getting whooped up in the locker room by Shelley Levine.
Yep.
And basically saying, we're going to go out there and we're going to kill this woman, basically. And he's like, yep, I'm a Democrat. Yep. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't care. No steak sandwich in the world can take care of that, or shark sandwich in the world can
shark
cover up
steak
your
sandwich.
sins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we mention that Shelley Runyon is played by Gary Oldman? I feel like we should mention that.
Yeah, he does a good job.
Yeah.
He's good at playing old Americans at this point. Like, he can do it in his sleep.
I know. I know.
I mean, you're talking about me, too.
Gary Oldman?
Well, I'm glad the statute of limitations has run out on some of his
oh,
Me
no. I hadn't heard that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah,
look it up. Anyway, somebody says to somebody at some point, your constituents don't want your honesty. They want your opinions and your philosophy or whatever. And I thought, that's... that was on a note card somewhere waiting to go into a script. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good line.
I think Runyon says that to Christian Slater. Yeah.
They do a lot of work kind of making her a divisive figure to the people watching the movie. If you assume that everybody watching your movie is, 50% Republican, 50% Democrat or whatever that entails, and they have her... How was her dad a Republican governor and isn't as an atheist?
I don't know.
But they specifically have a scene where she's like, her kid thinks that baby Jesus made top spin in tennis or whatever.
Yeah, right.
And she's like, well, they just teach these kids this fairy tale, and you're losing half of your audience here.
I know.
What I mean? But it's all in service of bringing it back, because you should walk out of this movie kind of jingoistic in a good way, although that word doesn't mean good anymore, but jingoistic towards the idea of American legislature being a debate of ideas and not ideologies. Put that on a card. Mm-hmm. But you should leave this theater thinking, I don't agree with her, but she is somebody that I would want in the legislature because of her integrity and her willingness to, examine an issue. But yeah, I mean, like, screw Christian Slater.
Yeah,
they bring out that
he was unnecessary.
They bring out the one guy, and so well, I mean, like, and Hathaway too. Hathaway goes and meets with Shelley, at a cigar club or whatever, and it's like this is like you're planning a murder, and they've got like the Roger Stone character, and there's like, look, we're gonna make this bitch drown in her own blood, and at that point, Christian Slater should be like, I gotta go because
I know.
I got another thing.
Which is why you can't trust this guy, because he's totally on board.
So much of the movie is dominated by her confirmation hearing, which is, this kind of brutal affair. And the irony is that if they keep pushing her, and there are so many moments where she steps back and basically has to just take a moment because she wants to yell at them, she wants to cry or whatever. And the irony, here's the real double standard. Sure, there's a double standard on sexual activity. If we ever heard that Ilhan Omar, did anything, that would be the end of it, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're looking for things. They're trying to make up things about her and her husband or whatever.
Right.
But if she pulls a Kavanaugh, it's over. But if Kavanaugh pulls a thing that was named for him, he becomes a Supreme Court justice.
I know.
If she shows any emotion at all,
freaking
it's over. It doesn't matter what the allegations are. It doesn't matter how she answers, if she believes in God or she's a baby killer or whatever. It's over for her.
She does get a little emotional when he accuses her of baby genocide.
Yes.
Which is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he just said that.
And even he, the movie frames it as like, he feels like, okay, I went a little too far and backs up a little, but I think it's supposed to be a real have you no decency, sir moment. But because we don't get that then, we get it literally in the president's speech at the end, which I think it goes a little far.
A little bit.
And this movie remains, I think
so too.
38% cynical in that it's never willing to completely strip anybody's actions from their motivations. So even at the end, after he gives this amazing speech, he basically comes out and says, what are you guys doing? Like, how could you let this...
You should be ashamed of yourself.
You should be ashamed of yourself. It's not... I mean, you're represented by the committee, but it's still... You are the body of Congress here. And how could you let this come to this? And we were not made to be this way. This is not what we're about. So I'm going to call for an immediate, right now, up and down vote for her confirmation, which we don't see how it comes out because,
No, we don't.
I mean, in the universe of a movie, she's confirmed.
Right.
In our real universe, John McCain digs his way out of his grave and comes down and plants the vote to keep her out. But even after it's all over, he goes down to his chief of staff and he's like, how's that for a swan song? Mm-hmm. It's like, so is this all about your legacy to you? I mean, I guess it's still an L or a W is a W, right?
Yes.
So a political win is a political win for the right reasons, even if done for the wrong justifications or whatever.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it have been better and to let Jeff Bridges, that cookie-loving bastard, off the hook a little bit for, like, Kermit to say that? What if... Because Kermit is... Nobody says swan song in the movie until he says... Or he never... We never hear swan song from the president's lips until the end when he says... This is my swan song.
Yeah.
What if Kermit was like said to him like, "No, that's a hell of a swan song."
Yeah,
and
that
Jeff
would have
Bridges
been better.
is like, "Yeah, you got it."
Right.
But he's like literally like, "Did you like that political calculation I did there? They'll never my picture's going to be huge when they paint it."
I know. It's a little much.
It's a little weird.
And then also the part where like he was like, "Shame on you, sir," and then like Runyon like actually stands
and he
up
says,
and walks
Have
out.
you no decency,
Have you no
sir?
decency, sir? He stands up and walks out. I'm like, really? Really? You don't have the courage
but where's
to
the guy
sit
going,
there
"You
in
lie!"
the room. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Let me run something past you.
Sure.
Do you...
And the whole thing, after all of this, what do we get? What do you got? We got a vice president who will vote for the war in Iraq in a year, wants to take the cigarettes out of kids' hands.
Yep.
Thank God we got this moderate in office.
I know.
That's the best we could do back then.
I know.
That's all we wanted.
Yep.
Is some moderate to sit in the office.
That's true.
Sorry, go ahead.
Do you think it's necessary? So we find out at the end.
I got a great point.
Okay, we find out at the end there was this letter and affidavit saying that
none of it ever happened.
None of the stuff in college ever happened.
All they had to do was just wait another day or two because the story is already breaking down. There's people who are coming from her college saying, this didn't happen that way, and I'm willing to go on record. Yeah.
Did we really need her telling a scene between her telling the president what exactly happened?
Yes.
Why?
Well, first of all, we didn't need it because it's true. Whatever she did, it doesn't matter.
That's kind of why I felt like, well, why are we having it?
We're letting her off the hook. She's not a horror or whatever. Because here's the thing. Because it's still a movie for the American public, a nation founded by pilgrims, and we needed that. But I thought it was important because after all this denial and all this saying, this is not my business, Senator, this is not my business, representative of CBS News or whatever, at the end she has finally become a friend of President Evans. Like this has made them friends and close.
Yeah.
And he's still working her because he asked so what did happen? But he's got the affidavit in his pocket, and he knows. He's ready to turn this around and go ham on Shelley and the press over this. But we still get it from her because she is the one wearing the scarlet letter this whole time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact that she just tells him person to person, I don't know. I agree. It doesn't matter what she did.
I just feel like I feel like at the end
But did she boof, though? Did she boof?
Stop it.
And the Devil's Triangle. Come on.
Answer
the question.
I just feel like the movie does...
We're going over an hour.
I just feel like it does a little bit of a disservice because at the end it's like saying there is a double standard because in order for her to be the heroine that this movie needs, you need to know that she's innocent.
Yeah, maybe they should have never addressed it.
Why does it... If it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter. Right,
but if it doesn't matter, then they should have had incontrovertible proof it was her at the beginning, so it's just true. Because the whole movie, the whole movie has reveals and holds things back and reveals them. And the whole reveal the entire time is that she has been suffering this in silence. Every time they ask her and she has to demur, it isn't because she can't talk about it because she's racked with guilt. It's because it never happened and it's all a lie.
Right.
So, I mean, I get all that, but I also get your point that it doesn't matter. Like Special Agent Wilhelmina says.
What?
It shouldn't matter, sir. I'll be on Cold Case in a few years. Check me out. A lot of CBS actors in this.
Yeah.
What else is going on? I'd almost rather, tell you what, this is so set up the way it is, and I know that Bernie Sanders wasn't on this guy's mind when he wrote the character of Shelley Runyon. And Hillary Clinton was just a twinkle in her own eye at this point.
Right.
But I'd almost rather see this flipped. And I know that being centrist, being a moderate was cool back then. But she is such an effing Republican, it makes me want to vomit. Do you know what I mean? And so I'd almost rather just flip everything, have Runyon be a Bernie Sanders-esque Democrat who is just really hates women for some reason, and have her be a Republican senator and make the same point. In fact, it might have been more powerful to make the same point. Her own party is trying to dismiss her because of this quote-unquote morality issue. And have her make the same point as a moderate Republican. What's the difference anyway? Do you know what I mean? I'd almost want to see it flipped.
Yeah.
But I think the guy that wrote this is a Sorkin-esque liberal who wanted to make a bunch of Sorkin-esque liberal points to make people stand up and clap.
Yep.
And so, it turned out the way it did. But I'd almost rather see it, politically reversed.
I get what you're saying. I think that makes sense.
Because you could still do it back then. Nowadays, it's all, Fox News, blonde, scarecrow bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
When Shelley starts ranting about the cancer of liberalism, it's like, you're a Jew that created a bill against hate crimes.
I know.
How mad are you at liberalism?
I know.
Right?
I know.
You're like a Feinstein-esque character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I know. I was like, why is she... I kept thinking, why is she a Cancer? Why do you hate this woman so much? And it seemed like, does he hate all women, or does he really just hate her?
His wife hates him.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Yeah. I couldn't believe she actually went to Hansen and was like, you should look him straight in the eye and be like, well, do you think your wife is a murderer? Because she had an abortion. And then she like divulges, oh, he doesn't know. And I'm like, well, that's even... Well, they give her that worse.
Just so she doesn't use it, so we see how much integrity she has.
Right.
Boop, ba-doop, how we doop. How'd you like internet journalism in this? And how
on the internet.
How Sydney, what's his name? Sydney Greenstreet, Flippy, Shelley Levine, is, you know, they the story is leaked, and there's a very Drudge Report-esque website that leaks these photos and this story of her. And then some cubby, we see one scene at the Post where some cubby at the Post is printing off, you know, the website, and he's like, yeah, this is how you make it in the world. It's like Robert Redford's crying somewhere. But so supposedly the Post like runs this, you know, thing about her. And then he's like, I'd encourage, you know, we don't, you know, approve of this filth, you know, that would insinuate that you would be involved in this sexy gangbang, and I don't want anybody to go to www.filthreport.com. I'm shocked to discover there's gambling in this establishment.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's like, wow.
Great.
Wow. You could almost like see her holding back, rolling her eyes.
Remember when it was just cranks, though? Remember like when Bill O'Reilly was on Inside Edition and it was just like crank syndicated news outlets that would print this crap? Now there is an entire wing of the president's propaganda arm that does this. Mm-hmm. And not even Fox News. Now there's ONN or OAN or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's the Goebbels are multiplying, everybody. Oh not a political show, though.
We try not for it to not be. Yeah.
I still don't understand why she voted to impeach Clinton. Her reasoning in the film, and this is, once again, you guys should be happy. Sydney?
Who?
What's his name again?
Shelley Runyon, yes.
You're getting a Republican vice president. You should be thrilled about this. Uh-huh. She voted to impeach Clinton because other military officers and commanders had been censured for adultery.
Yes.
Yeah, and so she thought it should apply. And Shelley rightly points out, you understand that Commander-in-Chief isn't a military rank. He's not subject to those, if not regulations, then just ideas and strictures about conduct. Uh-huh. And she's like, well, it shouldn't. Isn't it the same thing? He went down for what you're about to go down for.
Well, that's kind of what I was...
It's nobody's business.
That's kind of what I thought.
If you had said perjuring yourself and lying to the FBI, which Clinton was impeached for, I would understand. But what the hell are you talking about?
I know.
If you want to protect the double standard, you have to protect the
the
first part of the double standard.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I had that same thought watching it. I was like, what? Why? What? Why are we bringing that up?
Not a perfect film.
Yeah, no.
I like they called her female Warren Beatty. That was pretty great.
Yeah, that was great.
You're a female Warren Beatty.
Well, that was the thing, right? They're like they warn her
a home wrecking sex machine.
Yeah, right. That too. They warn her they're gonna really look, but she thinks it's gonna be all like legal stuff and everything. But for some reason, so her husband is divorced and they had an affair before he was divorced, and she, for some reason, didn't think that legal papers also included his divorce proceedings.
What's insane is that, both parties have investigators and lawyers working on this. We follow one of them in a thing that is makes us think that she's investigating Slater. What's the name of the Laney? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, Lane. Lane Hansen.
Hansen.
Yeah.
We think that we're following her, but we're not. We're following the woman who died.
Yes. Yes.
She's following up on her because she's investigating the governor. And remember, you got a nominee now, or you've got or an appointee for the vice presidency, but you just bagged the governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia went away in cuffs. So I hope the lieutenant governor is also a Democrat and also on your team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well.
That your swan song is you just bagged a state governor. Like that's you want to talk about like power of the states versus power of the federal government.
Yeah, but like
oh no, he got a lady killed. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, are those federal charges or what's going on here?
Right.
So it's not a perfect movie.
No, it's not.
But I love that last scene is great. Do you think that he called the kitchen and told them to say that there was no Munster cheese? Because it's so perfect. Something that this movie does really great is it uses creative ways to communicate the stakes and who has the power in the scene.
Yes.
So in the last scene, there's just some, I don't know, dinner number 327 that they have to go to as a function. And so they're all dressed up for this function, but they're going to have a powwow between.
Yep.
They're bringing Grissom back because Hansen is now, persona non grata, in the press or whatever because of this. And it's expected that she'll withdraw her thing. So they're going to have a tete-a-tete with her and sort of pass the torch to Hansen. But what he doesn't know, and Shelley doesn't know, and we don't know, is that it's a setup because they've had this FBI agent figure out the whole thing about how the governor paid this woman that they found, this former servicewoman, to drive off a bridge, thinking that she would be saved and get a payday, but she got dead instead. Yep. And so he has his guy come in, and I don't know if is that guy the attorney general or something? I'm not sure what his position is. The coffee guy.
He was the guy on the golf course.
Yeah, but is he like the DDI of the FBI or
probably?
But anyway, they have him come in and bust the governor. But before all this happens, there's this whole Dave runner where he keeps calling the restaurant and or the cook at the White House and ordering stuff, and so he orders like a grilled cheese sandwich or whatever, and is
the most common thing of all of like he ordered like kung pao chicken and all these extravagant dishes
he's
before.
Ordering like hazelnut pudding and all these things. And he orders the thing, and they don't have it. And he's like, oh. And he sits down in his chair, and he looks really deflated. And he's even lost the benefits of the presidency, the kickbacks of power. Like, he's got nothing. And then immediately they play the trap card.
I know.
And they take Grissom away in cuffs. And his line is like, God, it's a shame about that mustard cheese.
I
know! It's so good.
I know. It's really good.
But the play began the night before when he goes and eats on, I'm presuming Shelley's boat. I don't know whose boat it is.
I don't know whose boat it is.
It wasn't Yacht 1 or whatever.
No, I think it was the president's yacht because
Was there a seal?
Well, he's telling the server guy, oh, bring some of those cookies. Oh, they've got these raisins.
Yeah, but you could have the White House could cater a boat.
I guess.
Anyway, yeah, but he was setting it up even then, and so. They get to the moment of triumph, and he's not just, is he going to randomly order I think he set that up. I think he told the cook to say there was no cheese.
No, there's no Munster.
So he could look as his weakest. Remember, they're all lawyers.
I know.
I mean, he went to West Point, but I'm sure he went to law school after that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Was this worth talking about this long? I don't know. But I don't, I remember seeing it. I loved this movie when it came out, because I didn't understand politics at all, and it just seemed kind of cool. I think I loved it the first couple times. I saw it afterwards. Mm-hmm. Then, as politically the world fell apart around us, I began to think, what a dumb jejune movie. Mm-hmm. But then I saw it today, and I found myself thinking, there's a lot in here that we didn't listen to, or that we forgot about. Yep. And I don't hate.
I don't hate it either. Wow. High praise. I don't hate it. I was going to say, I think that Joan Allen is underrated.
She's fantastic.
Yeah. And I think she should be in more stuff. I know, as we've also talked about,
she's in one of your favorite movies.
Yes.
where she gets to rub a tiger, give a tiger a tummy massage.
But like, she, another double standard of women in society is they can't be in movies after they're a certain age. Yes.
I mean, he was going to write it anyway, but when he was writing the role, I think he had Joan Allen in mind.
Yeah.
And wanted Joan Allen. And it was pretty much like the last role that Joan Allen had before she reached that age where we just put the Hollywood actresses on the ice flow. And if it comes back when they're 60, great. They can be in movies again.
Right.
It's too bad.
It is too bad.
But yeah, she's great.
She's fantastic.
Even in a movie like Face Off.
Even in a movie like Face Off.
If the president eats cheese, it's right over there on Face Off. So yeah, I'd recommend this for sure.
Yes, I would too.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've done our work here, I think.
I think so too.
Yeoman's work.
Yeah.
And we should probably let things go, but we'll be back in the future to talk about more films, classic and modern, for your mascantainment?
Mascantainment?
Your social
I don't know.
Distastement? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
We'll be doing it in the future.